Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Covering both sides of the big issues with the analysis you trust on News Radio 1040 WHO.
We've been talking taxes today. Iowa flat tax proposal has passed the Iowa House, goes to the Iowa Senate. And, of course, at the national level, we continue to have a very complex tax code. And I know you're hearing the stories about, well, you know, the IRS horribly understaffed, horribly behind. Maybe I could get away with it or something this year. Let's talk that over with Carlos Samaniego, who is a IRS expert on the line with me. Carlos, welcome to Iowa Radio. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing good. Well, Carlos, first and foremost, we always wondered this time of year. When I start taking deductions on my tax form, like what should I be aware of? What's a red flag to the IRS that would trigger an audit?
You know, red flags are things that just don't look right. You know, when somebody actually puts that, you know, they gave $100,000 to a charity, but they're only making $30,000. You know, the IRS's computer system is really good at flagging things. The one thing they're kind of looking for right now is just, you know, are all of a sudden you're claiming kids that you haven't claimed before. These are actually common, very common little things. But the IRS's computer system is really easy at catching stuff like that. One of the big ones I'm seeing recently, especially because a lot of people have side gigs and, you know, working for Ubers and Lyft. Yeah. They're claiming more miles than they would actually have driven. I had one individual that tried to say that he drove 80,000 miles. I'm like, that's almost twice around, you know, a few times around the world here. You know, did you really drive that? Because the IRS's computer system is going to catch it.
No, that's such a great point, Carlos. And so let me get to the bigger point. Like as you said, and that makes sense to me that their computer. They're going to have pre-programmed stuff that's just going to trigger concerns here like that. Hey, I drove 80,000 miles for Uber in the last year. But everybody's hearing all the news, Carlos, about, the IRS, they're way behind and can't process. I guess I would think eventually if you do something wrong, like what you just described, they are going to get to you. You shouldn't chance it. I mean, am I right?
No, you're absolutely right. And here's what a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people will do things like that and think, you know, they file the return, they get their big refund, whatever it might be, and they think, hey, they didn't catch it. Well, the IRS's computer system, they've got 3 years to catch it. And it's very interesting how usually in that third year, you're flagged, and they've caught it. So even though the IRS has 24 million unprocessed tax returns still from last year, trust me, you don't want to kind of go down that road because they will catch it. And here's the interesting part. They're going to charge you penalties and interest for all 3 years, even though they didn't tell you until that third year. Oh. So, yeah,
don't do it. Carlos, in Iowa, we're talking about a flat tax right now. So this is why I'm asking you this particular question. For people that are filling out their tax forms recently, what do you think is the most confusing thing for them? Because sometimes people make honest mistakes, of course, because, man, this form is complicated. What do you find is really tripping people up?
You know what? The big thing that's tripping people up, and these are simple little mistakes, is just people don't report typically all the income that they're getting. Jeff, if you remember in previous years, you'd always get in your mail your W-2s, your 1099s, everything would come in the mail, right? Yeah. Well, what's interesting over the last few years, what we're seeing is that a lot of these companies, employers, banks, brokerage companies aren't mailing those anymore. They're sending you an email saying your tax documents are available online. Well, what happens with email? A lot of times we don't open it. A lot of times it goes to spam. So all of a sudden you file your returns thinking, okay, yeah, this is all the stuff that I got. And then you're flagged with an audit that you didn't report something, and it was just because you didn't go online to actually download the tax documents that you needed for that year. Especially this over the last, what I've seen last year and this year, people that have these Robinhood accounts that, you know, they've become instant day traders, buying stocks. Cryptocurrency is a huge one right now. A lot of people were kind of jumping into that game. Well, there's tax documents that are involved there, and most of those people are sending it electronically. You need to make sure that you go over there and get it.
That is such practical and good advice this morning from Carlos Samaniego. You'll find him at taxdebtconsultant.com, taxdebtconsultant.com. Thank you, Carlos, very much for your advice this morning.